So today we're going to talk about Gekko and what maps Gekko will be meta on. But I really need you to pay attention to the start of this video, because otherwise it's going to seem really weird, because I'm basically only going to talk about one ability. And let me get into exactly why that is, because to me, Gekko's strength lies in almost completely how often you get these abilities back. If you only have one Dizzy, one Wingman, and one Molly around, then you might as well play another Initiator. I'm going to be real with you. But if you can get 3 Dizzies, 3 Wingmen, 5 Dizzies in a round or something like that, then he's going to be completely overpowered, right? So that is the difference. We need to be thinking about how we can farm these abilities as often as we can. Now, the ult as well is just, you know, pretty good. Like, it's a pretty good ult. And again, you probably want to be thinking about how to farm this again as well, right? And using this twice in a round if you can. But yeah, the ult's just pretty good, so that's going to be good on pretty much every map. The Molly is, you know, what it is. It's situationally good, let's say, and that will be true on pretty much every map because of how big it is. And Dizzy and Wingman, you know, they might get slightly better on some maps, they might be slightly worse, but again, it all comes down to how often we can farm them. Because on attack sides, I think Gekko is just going to be good on most attack sides, because you can just throw a simple one like this of Dizzy, right? Does it see anyone? No? Okay. I'll come and get it back and not get the ult off there. And then, you know, 10 seconds later, I've got another one. We use that to get in onto site, right? I use it. We get in onto site. Okay, we close the door. I get another one, right? I pick it back up. We plant the spike, whatever. Then for post-plant, I've got another one, and I just throw it out, and he blinds people as they're coming in, right? All of that kind of stuff. That will be pretty basic on attack to do, I think, quite often with both Dizzy and Wingman to an extent. And so that, I think, will be pretty much universal amongst most maps. However, the defense side is not the same, because if I come out and just throw a Dizzy like that, right, and it ends up in a main here and it does ping people, am I ever going to get this back? No. But again, this is the key to this agent. We need to be doing this. And so, really, this is going to be a bit of a shock, but what I think makes Gekko meta on a map is how open the sky is for Dizzy. We're basically only going to focus on Dizzy because obviously the Molly is just a Molly, and Wingman I think is going to be pretty tough to get back on defense because you're going to be sending him out like this, right? And again, unless you're really pushing it, are you ever going to get that back? Probably not. But Dizzy, there are ways you can get Dizzy back many times in a round, and it's all to do with stuff like this. I made a little short about it as well. You want to be throwing him with stuff like this because as far as I know, he has unlimited range. And so throwing him out like this, he can see stuff like that. And guess what? You can always come and get this orb back, no problem, right? And also, it's going to be harder for your opponents to shoot something up there, right? They ain't going to be aiming up there. So, that is what is really important to Gekko, I think, in terms of making him meta. How open are the skies so that we can just keep sending Dizzy out, right? So I could have done that one at the start of the round. Maybe he pings no one, right? So I come over to short, you know, 10 seconds later or whatever, whenever I get it, and I throw him up here, right? And he comes up here and he spots in mid for me just there, right? And he goes, oh, no one's there. Okay, so I pick him back up and I go, you know, our teammates are maybe hearing something over towards the other side of the map. As I'm rotating across here, right, maybe I just go, okay, I'll do the exact same thing, throw him up again. What can he see down here? Maybe he pings someone. Maybe he doesn't, right? But I'm just constantly getting more and more and more and more info. And this, I think, is what's crucial. And so when we're talking about Ascent, you know, we have quite a few areas, as I've just kind of shown, where we can use this and just, like, get so much information throughout a round. Just so much information for free throughout a round. And this is his free ability. The one area where it's a bit more tricky is B main. But that said, there probably is, and I don't know the lineup, but there probably is a way you can, you know, bounce him there and yeah, have him do this, see in there, and come bounce back. So yeah, even that is pretty good. So I'd say Ascent is a pretty good map for Gekko. Will he be meta? I'm not quite sure because the meta is quite stale on this map. But you can see just from what I just did, right? 4 locations across the map where, yeah, we can get these Dizzies into pretty good locations and get some really good info for free. Moving on to Fracture, and Fracture is much the same as Ascent, right? I mean, again, you're going to be throwing him up here, right? And we are just going to focus on Dizzy defense side. But the thing about Fracture is as well, is because of the way that this map is played, because it is a bit different, where you're going to be a bit more aggressive on defense, right? So in at least high-level lobbies, right, you might often go for a smoke here and a stun down there and come and take control of this, you know, and get a bit aggressive, right? And so you might even be able to pick Wingman up a bit more on this map as well. So I do think that, you know, this map for this purpose where, you know, you if this is smoked off, right, you might even be able to come and get wingman back pretty often as well on this map. But there are good dizzies, even if you are just sitting back here as well. As I just showed, this one here, you know, yeah, it's going to see pretty much all of that. If we come to arcade, you know, it's the same thing over here, right? If I just throw him up there, yep, he's pretty much going to see all of that. That's good. Coming over towards the drop and dish as well, exactly the same thing, right? It's nice and open for us. So, again, we can just send him up. And, yep, he's going to see, you know, basically all of this. That's really great. The one area that is a bit more tricky is going to be over towards A main. There isn't, like, an amazing one. You can potentially do something like this, where you send Dizzy this way, and you will see into spawn, but maybe not the most useful. And also it lands in a bit of a tricky spot here where you could be pushed potentially. So A main is perhaps the one tricky area, but other than that, the rest of the map is pretty open and allows you to do these really good dizzies throughout the map. And also you might even be able to pick up wingman on this map as well. Now over here on Haven, you'd think, oh, this is a nice open map, surely he's good on this one, but actually this one I struggled with a bit more, because again, if you do come and throw this, like, you know, from a position like this, it actually doesn't see that much because the way that these roofs are on Haven, and you'll see that that's kind of a common theme, that, you know, if we do throw them in places, and remember, we need this to land in a safe spot, right? We need to be able to get this back, otherwise you might as well just play a different initiator. So we need to be getting that back into a safe spot, but yeah, I'm just not sure that there's anything better here than like just a Sova dart that you would normally do in a lobby. So on this A site, you know, not amazing to be honest. And again, we probably aren't going to be getting wingmen back like Fracture on this map as much. The same is kind of true here in B. Like, you know, I mean, where do I throw it here, right? I can't throw it up there. It won't really see too much there. So what? I just have to kind of throw it out, and then if I do throw it out, you know what, he lands there. Am I ever getting that back? Probably not. Same in Garage, right? No really where to throw it. And the same is even kind of true on C, where if you do just throw him up here, again, he doesn't quite see that much because of where the roofs are. And even if you do throw it up, right, and get into a safe spot, he doesn't quite see as much as perhaps you'd hope for. So Haven, probably actually not a dizzy map. I think the options of Breach, Sova, and Fade are probably just going to be a bit better. Coming on over to Icebox, if you stand here by 410 and throw a dizzy up, right, he will see quite a lot, right? This is pretty much perfect for seeing pretty much everything you would want to see, to be honest. And again, he will come and land in a nice little safe space for you as well down here. So I think, yeah, this is okay. I don't think Icebox is necessarily the best map for him, but it's not bad. Over here towards mid, like, it can get a bit tricky because these are so high, right? These boxes are kind of so high that if you want to see over a Viper Orb and into kind of like, you know, over this area, then yeah, that's probably fine. But I'm not sure that there's like the best. I mean, again, over here towards kitchen, like, you know, this isn't the worst necessarily. You do see quite a bit from there. So that one might be a pretty decent option. And again, this is pretty safe over here as well. And over towards B, again, this probably isn't like the best spot in the world because, you know, it's not seeing like super deep. But again, up down here, yeah, you'll see like a bit, but maybe not like the most ever. So Icebox, I kind of came away with, yeah, he'll be okay. Obviously the spike plant on attack side on this map, you know, could be kind of an extra thing on this map, of course, that you otherwise wouldn't care too much about. But on this map, that could be a bit of a win as well. Moving on to Lotus, and over here towards A, and, you know, normally new agents are good on the new maps. It's just kind of how it's kind of been. But, you know, he will see quite a bit over here towards A. This is, like, fine, and you can do a similar sort of one out of tree as well. But the rest of the map becomes a bit rough. And remember, attack side Gekko is pretty much always going to be pretty good as long as you can keep farming those abilities, so keep that in mind. But over towards B here, you know, where are you going to put this that, you know, sees anything? You can't really put it through here because this is just too big, and then, you know, if you do end up throwing him down there, again, this is obviously risky to come and pick back up. And again, it's all about picking up these orbs. That's what this agent is really all about. And the same is kind of true towards C, where, yeah, this is just a bit too tall, so you can't really throw it out there, so you have to throw it out here. And you know, this is fine, but, you know, it's not ideal. And so he will be, I think, a little weaker on this defensive side here on Lotus. Again, attack side, he'll always, I think, be pretty good because, again, you can just, you know, come in here, send Wingman and this in, right? Send both of them in, and you'll be able to pick both of them back up, probably. You know, so on attack side, he's always going to be fairly decent as long as you can keep picking these up. But on defense side, Lotus, he might struggle a bit. Coming on over to Pearl, and on this A site, it can be maybe a little awkward. Because it still will see stuff, right? But you have to be kind of ahead of this archway. I mean, you could do it from back here if you wanted to as well, which sees a little less, right? Doesn't see quite as much from up here. But, you know, probably still enough. And, you know, this one is a bit more safe to come and pick up. So that's pretty good. Also, we did think about this yesterday on stream, that if you were in here, you could potentially find a way to kind of like bounce him off that, but try and have him bounce back to you, kind of like this one, where he can still see through the window, right? He can still see through it. And the same is true on attack side as well, right? Where you kind of bounce him off this, and he'll still see through this window and ping anyone through it, but come and bounce back to you nice and friendly over there, and you know, you can easily come and pick that back up. So those are some nice things as well. Coming in towards the other side of mid here, you can get some, I think, really good ones, right? Just throwing it, you know, something like up there, right? Right there. You're going to get some info in towards mid, and again, nice safe pickup there. And then over towards B, I think this is really where the really good ones come in, right? Just throwing something up around here. It gets kind of above the clock tower and can really see quite a bit of down B here. So you'll really get quite a bit of information while still having a fairly relatively safe orb to come and collect. And that is really what you want. So Pearl, I think, again, has the open spaces to allow Gekko to kind of thrive on this map if you want to. Will it be better than Fade on this map is a good question. I'm not quite sure I'm willing to go that far just yet, but I think there is some potential here. And then finally, we come to Split. And on Split, over towards A, again, this one's going to be pretty good, again, for spotting things down there, or even one, you know, potentially across here or something. This roof is a bit, you know, a problem, though, sometimes. And it will still fall in a pretty relatively safe spot. So over towards A, it's not too bad, but the rest of the map, I think you are going to struggle a bit more, right? Like, where do you throw it here, right? Where do you throw it in mid to where it's actually going to find, you know, value and it not get shot down again, right? Probably not too much overall, so maybe not the best. Same for kind of this area here. Would be amazing if you could throw it all the way up there. And the same is kind of true for B as well, where, you know, we probably aren't getting like a lot of value here. You kind of can't really see too much there. Obviously, this is kind of closed off, so that doesn't help you too much either. So yeah, Split probably... Again, I'm not going to say a bad map, because on attack side, I think it's just good. Because again, on attack side, you can easily come and reclaim these at any point, right? On attack side, you can throw that in, throw that in. You'll clear out all of B main straight away. And, you know, if you did come and reclaim this as well, right, you can just, again, reuse it. Like, this is how you have to be playing this agent. So Split, look, I don't think Gekko has, like, a truly terrible map, because I think his attack side is always pretty good. But I think his defense side on some maps is, you know, weak enough to a point, like on Split, or maybe, you know, on some of these other maps we talked about as well, like Haven, where maybe the other initiators will be a bit better. But on some maps, I think he will at least be challenging, if not meta, on certain other maps as well.